What do you say we get back to work on the pipe lock project? We're going to get started right where we left off the last time, so sit back and enjoy. Now this all looks like it's going to work pretty well. Problem is this doesn't fit, and you can tell this is brought in a little bit here, so I need to open that up. I don't want to get it too hot because I'll break my bond for the brazing, but I can get this section up to a low forging heat without worrying about that too much. And if I need to, I can quench the bottom part of this and guarantee I won't break that bond. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. If you're real worried about it, just heat it up right here and here with a torch. But I think I'm going to do it in the forge just to see if we can do it that way. So the area where the braze is not very hot at all. I should then be able to just open this up a little bit. And go back to this piece of scrap that happens to be the right size here. And now that's going to fit. So I'm going to let this cool, then I need to do a little bit of grinding or filing to clean up the ears and make them symmetrical. Drill a hole for this, drill a hole in here that matches our rivet size. And we also need to figure out how this is going to work in the lock body here and cut a slot in the body for that to fit into. Well, that cools. Why don't we take a look at this little bolt that is going to be the actual locking mechanism. It's just a 3/8 bolt that I cut off and filed a unique profile on the top here. To do that, I'm going to start with a bolt that's got a couple of nuts on it, and that's just so I can lock it in the vise without messing up the threads. I'll use the one I did previously as a guide here. Looks like I want to cut it off just right up below the head. And then looking at this isn't real long. It's just a little bit longer than what's sticking out of these two nuts. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off while I'm here. Doesn't hurt to be longer, you just have to thread it in further when you're installing the bolt. And on this one, I filed a triangle. A triangle is a little harder to get a grip on with needle nose, so it's slightly more secure. Not that this is a super secure lock in the first place, but that might be a little bit better than a square profile, or certainly better than a hex profile you could put a nut driver on. So I think I'm going to go with the triangle again. And that just goes on this end here. And we'll make the key fit this. We're not trying to make this fit the key. Figure out how much material I want. Again, it's not critical. I'm trying to create a shoulder, but it's not, the shoulder doesn't do anything by itself. It's just there because it looks good. And this triangle does not have to be perfect. If it's perfect, the key fits in any direction, but if it's irregular, then your key is a little bit more unique. And then I want to bevel the top just a little bit to make it easier to get the key on there. Not too much though. That probably does not fit my old key. So the keys will be unique based on the lock. Next thing I'll do is just take this to the grinder real quick and put a little bit of a bevel on there so that it finds the, so it can find the hole in here a little easier than the square cutoff end does. And while I'm at it, out there at the grinder, I'm going to even these up because they are not quite the same. I think you can see that there. And maybe round the top off a little bit. And then it'll be time to fit the hasp part. I think the next thing I want to do is go ahead and drill my hole for my pivot point. And I'll put it right about there. And then we'll be able to line this up and make sure it fits just right. I'll put that bar back in there to provide a support while I center punch it. I'm going to drill from both sides and then run the bit all the way through. That makes sure it comes out where I want it to on both ends. Now to start this, I'm just going to put this on the outside of the lock. I can see where it's going to swing this way, and I know that the tip of it is way up here when it comes in. It's got to have room for that arc, but when it's all the way down, it's back in there. So that's how big my slot is going to have to be for this to work properly. It has to be the width of this, or slightly wider. Like I say, this is not a super precision thing, so give yourself plenty of room. We're just going to cut that with a hacksaw. I'm going to make multiple cuts. And I'll just use a little cold chisel to knock that out of there. We can get all that junk out of our way eventually, and then we file. I did deform the sidewall a little, so I'll see if I can drive it back. I'm not going to hurt anything. That doesn't quite fit there. I suspect in the long run this is probably too long. Needs to be cleaned up a little in there anyways. Yeah, I think I'm going to go grind just a little off of that and try that first, and then we're going to see what happens. There's just some trial and error that has to go on here, but that fits. You know, I still think that holds up. I don't know if the camera shows that angle. Let me see if I can. So this kicks way back here, and what that tells me is that I'd like that to go down. I'd like this to be perpendicular here, so I'm going to take a little bit more off of that. Just a matter of trial and error until you like it. Just a little bit more, but it's getting closer. I'd much rather do all this trial and error at this point than have it too short and have to try and make it longer. Yep, that's pretty good there, so we're going to do that. I'm going to come through here with my silver pencil and mark what looks like the center line in there. Just kind of eyeball it. And that's where we're going to drill our hole. And this is whatever size hole fits the tap for the bolt that you're going to use. So I'm using 3/8/16. That's a 5/16 drill for this. That should then fit in there. Now we have one little problem at this point, and that is we don't have a key. So that'll go in there, and you can start it with your fingers. It's a little crooked there. I'm going to have to put a little twist in there still. This is a good time to straighten this little bit of a twist that I noticed in here. I'm not going to heat it up a lot because I don't want to take a chance on messing up my threads. But it doesn't take much to twist it a degree or two. Time to just go ahead and assemble this part of the lock. Like anything you rivet that wants to move, that probably won't move when you're done. But if we heat this up again, just like making a pair of tongs, I think we can get it to move. Make sure you don't get it so hot that you melt the brazing out of there. And of course, over the years, this will loosen up even more as it wears itself in, so that's going to help solve some of the problem. Still just a little twist there. There we go. That goes all the way in. That's really all you need at this point. I think this is where I'm going to end part 2 of the pipe lock video. I've actually filmed all of the process here. I'm just editing it in segments because it was a rather large amount of video footage. And this had a little problem. It doesn't want to close every time. There's a little catch back here. And the reason that's there, when I heated this up to free it up because it was locked up solid, If it hangs up while you're trying to close it again, it actually starts to unwrap the eye, and I managed to get the eye opened up, so now the eye is bigger than what the rivet is, and that means it drags on the lock body a little bit. I've messed around a little bit, I've improved it some, but it's not perfect. I'll try to work with it with a torch a little bit more, but if I can't get this to function smoothly, I'll just drill the rivet out, close the eye back up, put a new rivet in it, and it should work just fine. We've already looked at the bolt that is the actual locking mechanism, but in part 3 we'll take a look at the key. It's another one of those things that doesn't go as smoothly as it should, and if we were working right out of the book, I think it would have gone smoother. The good news is that Dennis Frechette, one of the authors of the book, who I should have recognized as DF in the Shop, who has some excellent YouTube videos on lock making. Matter of fact, I'll link to one of his videos right up here. Dennis has given permission to work right out of the book so I can show exactly the processes and the measurements and the material lists and things like that, so that you can see what they have to offer in this book. This book is still available new. PayTool carries it. I think they sold out first thing Monday morning because a bunch of people went over there to look for it. But I've been talking to the folks at PayTool. They said they should have a restock of these in the next week or two. So if you're looking for one, that might be a good place to contact. So thanks PayTool for making sure you got the book in stock. And thank you, Dennis, for giving us permission to work out of the book. Future videos on lock making should go a little bit smoother than this one. And hopefully I'll be able to make sense of this key when I do that part of the video. And if not, I may just reshoot that part between now and probably Sunday. I think this is probably showing on Wednesday morning. I'll plan on the final installment on Sunday morning. It should be relatively short. There's a whole lot of time spent on this, but most of it is fussing and fiddling and messing around that doesn't really show much progress because I kept messing things up. Anyways, you'll have to tune in then if you want to see that. But that is all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button down there. If you're one of my Patreon supporters, you can look for a longer version of this video over there on Patreon. I'll try and assemble all 3 segments of this, put one long video over there that you can watch at your leisure, pause it when you want to, come back to it. But that will be available ad-free over there on Patreon for the Patreon supporters. But for everybody, I do thank you for watching, and I hope you have time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, stay safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next one.